Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back on the Mac, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new blog post on the Legends website for you guys. And the most important information, the clickbait title kind of topic, is near the end, and it's the discussion or the tease of two or multiple new ships being added to Legends, a new tech tree line, and a high-tier Italian ship that will be a Bureau project. But besides that, I want to talk about this post, and I will link the post for you guys in the description, as well as my Discord server where I learned about this information from Mr. Flicks and Mr. BA here. So thank you to those two gentlemen for kind of keeping me in the loop. But basically, this post is Wargaming patting themselves on the back for a job well done, as they always will. And let's be honest, Wargaming is they're no Red Cross, but they have done a decent job with this game, and a few things that they mention are tier 8. They have added crossplay divisions and command wheel and different things like that. And I think a lot of people forget that they have added a lot of stuff. I think they could do a lot more personally, but I'm done being a part of the always hate wargaming crowd, because I could say that I hate wargaming or whatever, and they'll be like, well, you didn't hate them hard enough, you didn't hate them long enough. So those people with their their head buried in the sand with no other real problems in life, continue on hating wargaming. I'm just going to continue on playing the game that I enjoy. I think taking regular breaks as well has helped me a lot, and also just maybe not caring as much. I guess I've seen behind the curtain here. Mr. Oz does not have me with a sheet over my head of always hating wargaming. But regardless of that, I envy those who have no real problems. They did add a new tech tree line in the German battle cruisers, a few others they mentioned here. Multiple campaigns, and like we've talked about, once you just realize that wargaming is all about monetization, I think you kind of just step back and you're like, okay, they want to make money, that's fine. If they want to get it, then they need to do stuff showing me that they deserve it. And I think they've done so with a few of these ships. The Republic on here is one, and maybe the Marco Polo and a few others. They had some decent campaigns this year. We also had some absolute lemons. I can't even remember. I think the Flander was this year, but some ships that were just fairly mediocre in my opinion. That's why I always try to do my reviews very unbiased. And just honest. I never excessively hype up a ship. I am starting to enjoy the off-tier play style, but I feel like half the reviews I see sometimes are like there's no bad ship, and there truly is never a bad ship, but certain ships are just not good. No matter how much you want to like them or do like them, or your great grandfather served on it, like the Marlborough is not a bad ship in any right. It's just it's one of those where it's fairly questionable with that Citadel. Now you do have tremendous HE, and I know that damage is always important to a lot of people. With maybe a little less knowledge, but it's just that there's an example with the Marlborough. We also have carriers coming to legendary tier, and we all know that the Bureau is an absolute disaster. I think that's one of the worst things they've done to this game, because what it does is up until recently, it's allowed players without those ships like the Shima, Yamato, Kurfürst, who do not have the Bismarck, the Kagero, or now the Yugumo or the Friedrich de Grosse. They do not have those ships, and they're playing at legendary tier, and I think that is a huge problem. Now, they have rectified that problem with adding checkpoints, but they added an equal amount of time, so the Bureau is not sped up any. But at least we have those checkpoints in there now, so whoop-de-doo, I guess, right? Like I said, I always try to be pragmatic about these situations. Like, yes, Wargaming wants to monetize the Bureau. That's cool. The Bureau sucks, but at the same time, the Bureau sucks, it's nothing to be said about it. Events and collaboration, who cares? Competitive, I enjoyed the 1v1s. That was actually a lot of fun playing like the Amalfi and things like that. And the brawls and the rank battles were all right. Mobile launch, who cares as well. And the final point of this post, so if you're just joining me from the beginning of the video, is the future. What does the future hold? It certainly holds a lot more interesting stuff of all sorts and colors, but we're not going to spoil the upcoming news. Cool. So they do talk about special modifications and enhanced service record. Hipper will be able to tell us his point 2 rudder has an extra. On Mars it would be 0.1 with the lack of I don't know. Ship stats are kind of irrelevant to me. Like, it's cool to see sometimes. It's always nice to compare. It does help certain arguments, but some people will just use that till their grave, like defending like the Tiger 59. people, like I said, some of us live in reality. The rest of us, some of you guys live with your head in the sand. But besides that, we will be getting a new non-carrier tech tree line and a certain high-tier Italian ship as a bureau project. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the wiki here and look at the ships that we can have. One of those I was just looking at is the Attilio Regilio. It is an Italian destroyer, and it actually is a little bit different than the Apollo there at Tier 9. It has pretty low concealment, a large health pool, medium caliber guns here with the 135s, and long range, very slow torpedoes. So basically floating sea mines here, which is obviously different than the Apollo. You do get access to the exhaust smoke generator, and I guess an emergency engine power. I don't know. But regardless of that, here's the pros and cons, and I don't think it's going to be this one. My true and honest hope is that it is the Venezia, the absolute beast of a heavy cruiser here with 15 203mm guns and access to SAP. Now, I really, really hope that they don't give this thing or HE and they only give it SAP, which is, they mentioned that SAP is coming as a module for Italian tech tree cruisers. I think with HE, this thing might be considered OP or the battleship mains. That, number one, they're always going to cry, but they'll cry even more if they give this thing HE. I really hope it's just AP and SAP. But regardless of that, this is my hope and what I think it's going to be. It has, it's an Italian cruiser with an insane, Alpha Strike here with 15 203mm cruisers. A nice little play style here with probably a weak bow, but good side plating, so you have to use your brain. You can't just point the nose at the target. And I do think certain cruisers need good bow plating, and ships like the Siegfried would actually perform better with that bow plating. But regardless of that, this is the play style of the Italian cruisers. So the long-range slow torpedoes as well as decent concealment here. And I do believe it gets access to these, exhaust smoke generator as well. So here's the pros and cons, and that is the Venezia on the World of Warships Legends wiki. Another ship that we could also be getting is the Napoli, and I actually just looked at it, failing on another video. It is a heavy cruiser to the max, 254mm guns here. It does not have a strong bow, I believe, either, but again, just angle, play smarter, don't directly bow tank with a 17-second reload here, 3x3. It also does have torpedoes with another. They're also the slow torpedoes with the long range here. And I think this does also get access to the exhaust smoke generator. Yeah, there it is. So a fun ship that could be. I don't think it's going to be, but again, it could be. They say high-tier bureau ship, so I'm only assuming it's got to be legendary tier. It could be like the Brindisi, but that would be the tech tree. I don't know why they would do that, but again, Wargaming is known for making questionable decisions. The final ship that I think it could be is the Cristoforo Colombo, the Italian Tier 10 battleship. And I know the people with the Montana lovers and whatever we were discussing in Spartan's chat the other day are just going to see this 381 caliber and go, "Oh, it's going to be a bad ship. I'm not going to play it." And while 381 is fairly small for Tier 10 on PC and Legendary Tier in our game, 16 guns that can carry SAP will absolutely obliterate broadsides. You will have to play a little bit smarter. You can't just sit in one square and overmatch people. And the only ship that really affects right now at Legendary Tier is the Des Moines. I know a few others like Buffalo Tier 8, but I don't really compare Tier 8 ships to Legendary. So, excuse me. This is a bruiser of a battleship with 16 guns, similar to the Marlborough, but the SAP makes it, I think, an effective ship because the caliber of those guns can obliterate certain targets at most angles. You do not overpen with SAP. Now, you can shatter and bounce, but those angles, those closed, 0 to 50 or 10 to 15 to 20 there is where SAP shines. You can get full penetrations. I've done it in the Marco Polo. That is the last ship here, and they did mention a non-carrier tech tree line, and I personally think it is going to be, is it the European or the Commonwealth? It is the cruiser. Well, sorry about that, guys. I will have to splice in this video because I had a brain gaffe in that moment, and I was thinking Pan-European or Commonwealth, but it's actually the Pan-Asian. This is what I think the new line will be. They teased this on the Arena front page here with the Harbing. We already went over this, but Yeah, the Harbing is on that little display model there. The Pan Asian light cruisers, they're basically a bunch of Atlantas. I think this is an Atlanta on steroids, or one of these is, and we already have the Hihang in the game, so probably a good mix of these will be in here. This will probably be the tier 4, with this being the tier 5, with this being the tier 6, and that being the tier 7, and that being the tier 8. So expect to see these next update or the update after. We know that Wargaming, as we mentioned, is probably going to monetize them in the form of early access, so prepare to get your wallets out. But interesting looking ships here. We know that they've got the 127s with what firing range here? Yeah, so 14-kilometer firing range. You're going to have to play these similar to the Atlanta and other light cruisers, utilizing island or smoke cover. And they do have, actually, it looks like, access to long-range torpedoes. The problem will be with uh, the HE, how HE works. You will probably shatter a lot of these shells, so you will be very reliant on fire. Or if they give them access to equilibrium of power, that might be an option or a need to make these ships very effective. But we always enjoy new ships, so that looks like what the new line could be. And that is the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think down below, and of course, make sure to comment and stir some stuff up in the comments. Subscribe if you're not already. Like the video. Aaron out. Peace.